Hello, my name is Naomi Thomas, and I will be discussing Nella Larsen's Quicksand. In this novella, Larsen raises the issue of interracial marriage in relation to the mobility of young African American women in the 1920s. The protagonist, Helga, is portrayed as a lucky young woman since she's able to freely move about and do as she pleases. Although she does as she pleases, readers become aware that she suffers consequences and struggles with her own identity as a result. The struggle with her identity strongly impacts her ability to be happy. Helga is unable to be accepted as long as she remains a modern woman. She is a very confused and eager young woman who is constantly seeking her role and purpose in life. Her constant desire to move around and experience different environments, like leaving Naxos to Chicago and leaving Chicago to Harlem to be a part of the art movement, speaks to her inability to identify with a race, a place, and a group of people, which essentially results in her unhappiness, but also assists her in her free decision-making when it comes to choosing who to marry and even where to live or who to be. In the South, Helga knew the way students were being taught was hypocritical and their education was essentially hopeless because of the lives they would live. She then left Chicago because she felt she needed to be a part of something bigger, and the art movement in Harlem was just the same for a girl like her. Helga is a modern woman of the 1920s, but she eventually adapts to the expectations upheld by society and marries a Southern preacher with whom she miserably has 5 children she never wanted. She is made to be the example of a modern woman of the 1920s, yet Larsen develops her character to be one that would eventually, irrationally and unsurely, choose to marry and become a mother. Since interracial marriages were not only frowned upon, but also illegal, Helga realizes that although her marriage could happen in Denmark, she would have to eventually return back to the United States. She was well aware that showing up married to a white man would be both illegal and problematic. She would also no longer be able to visit her people in the United States. Helga would end up lonely and unhappy since she was the only African American woman in Denmark. As a result, she tells Herr Olsen, a Danish artist, that she will not marry him because of the harm it could cause, not only her but possible children as well. In Helga's opinion, marriage means children, and she refuses to bring oppressed African American children into the world. Interracial marriage appears to be one of Helga's biggest fears, and this is because of the interracial union between her parents and the harmful life it caused her to live. In her rejection to Herr Olsen's proposal, Helga suggests that they would eventually come to hate one another. Helga Crane lives in post-Reconstruction Jim Crow era where skin color was paramount, and being of mixed race, she is pressured and even forced to determine who she is and where she fits in. After running from Naxos, Chicago, and New York, she goes to Copenhagen where she is instantly held to a higher standard and is treated differently than everyone else. It is then that she realizes that she will always be treated differently. In Denmark, she becomes this dark and exotic being and realizes that she hasn't run from much because she is still perceived differently and is essentially dehumanized because of her race. Because of her aunt Katrina's pressure for her to stand out and be the toast of the town, Helga is expected to dress exotically so that she is actually seen as a spectacle in Copenhagen. Helga is constantly searching for her true identity as a member of society. America has caused her to believe that it isn't all right for her to be mixed race. She is forced to believe that it's neither one or the other, which is why she resents who she is and finds it difficult to choose who she wants to be. She isn't fully accepted by the black or white societies and finds herself doomed either way. Not knowing who she is allowed to be confuses her and makes her very unhappy. Deciding to get married and becoming a mother to African American children is one of Helga's biggest fears. However, she grows and later regrets her irrational choice. She learns of the difficulty she and her children would experience if she left them with their father. She knows her own children would resent her if she left, just as she resents her own parents. In this realization, she knows she will never get the chance to be happy because she would continue to be a poor mother and housewife. Learning to become a mother has caused Helga to make the decision to stay with her family and live a very unhappy life. Although she decided to marry and have children, she still would have been unhappy. Marrying and having children wouldn't have allowed her to settle down because she would never fit in anywhere if she remained a modern woman.